As a DEI advocate and personal branding mentor, what unique challenges do BIPOC women face in owning their narratives, and how can we collectively shift that landscape? That's a big one.
That's a very good question. And I think I'm spending my life's work trying to answer that question as well. What I have seen through my personal experience as well, and having worked with so many mentees now over the last year, I started the program in March, my mentorship and personal branding program for women. I realized that in this very tumultuous global financial crisis that has disproportionately affected women and women of color across the globe, right? So they are at the firing line of getting laid off. And you have this large community of women who've been told that you do the job right, have the family, get married, have kids, then build your career on the side and grow. And that is the life that you will live. And suddenly, when all of that is taken away from them, when that one pink slip comes through, and they are left to feel, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to pivot this? I'm not going to be able to sit at home and not contribute financially to my household. And to top it up, the cultural layer of conditioning that we've been, brought up with as South Asian women, we've been taught to not talk about our work too much, let our work do the talking, and don't tom too much. Don't have too many ambitions. I mean, it's okay. You can, at the age of 40 plus, if you get laid off, then you can start something on the side, have a little bit of a distraction of sorts, like not career pivots. Like nobody tells a woman in her 40s who's been laid off, start a business.
Yeah.
I'll fund you.
Yeah.
I'll fund you is तो दूर की बात है. Start a business. Start something of your own. Think about your legacy. Think about your child. What will they want to have their mummy do, right? No, nobody talks to them like this. They're basically made to feel irrelevant because they're no longer young in the workforce as well. And made to feel that, oh, abhi to ho gaya na, career kar diya. So maybe it's time to wind down, take an early retirement. It's fine.
Or maybe even as a mama, when somebody's pregnant, and then maybe take a break because that's better for your unborn child and for you, and you need this time to really be a good mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are also the dialogues kind of really set.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I work with women who have found themselves suddenly wanting to pivot in their careers and in their personal lives. And a lot of my mentees are first-time entrepreneurs, mentees who have started something on their own for the very first time, or are vying for that promotion, heavily pregnant even.
Okay.
And will do anything and everything to get it. Right? So it is so important to have a support system for BIPOC women, Black, Indigenous, people of color, women across the globe, so that they feel that they anyway have to work twice as hard, right? Compared to the right white blonde woman who's also part of the same rat race, right?
Yeah.
But they also need to have a different kind of skill set to navigate the internal conditioning that their upbringing has given them.
Yeah.
So my life's work is to help them decondition that thinking and then apply all of that in the life that they want to choose to live for themselves, that they choose and not the society around them decides for them.
And do you think it's a really long process to probably, because it's almost like you've got layers of things which you've been living around, and some layers take quite some time to get rid of.
Yes, it's deeply therapeutic. A
So,
lot of it is trauma driven. And I work with a psychotherapist on call to help women navigate the trauma pieces because I'm not a trained therapist. A lot of my work is so deeply rooted in our inner values,
yeah.
in our principles. And a lot of women don't spend enough time thinking about our value systems. There are certain things that happen to us, certain situations where we are forced to think about our values. Does this align with my value system? And that's when you start thinking about them, right? I want us to start from the beginning thinking about our values. Like, if this doesn't align with my values, I'm not going to do it. This aligns with my values, therefore, I chose to do it. Right? So, having that understanding and hand holding them a little bit to arrive at that clarity is what my life's purpose is now.
Isn't it interesting to see that you started somebody as the only woman of color in the room, and then now to really start the advocacy and mentoring about it? I'm not too sure if you thought of it at that moment when you were the only woman in the room that you would end up one day mentoring these mentees.
I knew that I didn't want to be the only woman in the room. I knew that I didn't want to be the only woman of color in the room. I wanted more women who looked like me, dressed like me, sounded like me, with me. And I didn't think then that I would start this mentorship journey,
Okay.
but I knew that I needed to make space for more women like me.
That's
I
beautiful.
think that's where it started.
That's beautiful, because I think I've read a couple of things, from your LinkedIn post, which is really deep, and it does speak a lot about the intellectual level that you have gained through your experience, or that I've come across that, which shows that you believe in visibility without values is just noise. In a world obsessed with attention, how do you help brands and individuals show up with intent?
Well, I have to remind them about the why are they doing whatever they're doing. Sometimes they tend to forget, because they get caught in, oh, I want to make this viral. I want to go viral. And I'm like, do you even know what goes viral? Stuff that is authentic that goes viral. And even if it isn't, it'll go viral for 24 hours, for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then people will forget you. Right? People remember people that move them. They listen to stories that they relate to. They see themselves in those struggles, in those journeys, and then they want to listen to you more and sit across the room and truly, truly listen to your story. Right? And none of that happens if you start thinking about, oh, I want to go viral today. Right? So it's important to remind clients and individuals that virality is not your end goal. Remembering and resonance is your end goal. So all of what I do is to just simply remind them this is important, and then they somehow remember who they are at the core themselves, and the truth comes out. Right? So that is what I think is more important than just simple visibility.
I think, online, the media is sometimes the mirror of the society. And now what I see, I'm sure you would agree to that, in the society, we have many societies. And you want to see somebody that you can relate to within this space, because it has become really scattered. And as you said, the authenticity is true, but sometimes there's also polished authenticity. I've learned
Performance
performative.
people perform authenticity as well, because it's one of those very easily used and abused words. Authenticity, what is authenticity? Authenticity is being true to yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are at your core, and if you're just trying to be somebody else because that is trendy, that's not authenticity, right?
True. And I think any which ways, we cannot be 100% authentic in front of the camera or in the public spaces.
We try to be, but sometimes we put on a brave act. We
Yeah.
are, nervous
Yeah,
internally, and
yeah.
we're trying to put on a brave act and be a version of ourselves that we'll be proud of. But that is also authenticity, because we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, getting out of our comfort zones, and also simply just putting one foot next to each other and putting ourselves out there. That is also authenticity for me.
But it's a difficult one to crack, I must say that.
It is.
It's
It
very
is.
hard in the society where you see everybody living or being successful in a certain way, and then here it is, you have to start from scratch and be authentic, and because that's the only way to find your own success. How do you find it? And I think that is also another layer that you have to probably with your mentees discuss, show, see if they can see what you can probably see. I don't know.
I don't know whether I want to see a version of success that is my version of success for them.
Correct.
I want them to realize that success could look very different for every individual, right? Tomorrow, if I say I want to only sell toothpastes that work,
Okay.
yeah, and I want to sell the most number of toothpastes in the world, right? That is my version of success. But there would be somebody else who says, I just want to have good 8 hours sleep, right? Without uninterrupted. And God knows perimenopausal women need 8 hours of sleep, uninterrupted 8 hours of sleep without a hot flash, right? That is my version of success.
Yeah.
It could be that, right? So who are we to decide? I'm not nobody to decide that this should be your version of success. I want them to discover that, and I'll help you get there, right? But it is so important to know with a blinding clarity that this is the life that I want to live for myself. And I am not modeling it against my girlfriend or my husband or something that my parents have told me or something that my boss is telling me. Right? I want to live a life and create an environment where I live that life that is true to me. Right?
Authentic. Yeah.
That is the authenticity journey that I take my mentees on.
A society where you see being authentic, that way of authentic leads you to that way, that direction.
Yeah.
And which becomes more like a blueprint for somebody to
Yes.
replicate and maybe be inspired, as they say, inspired. But to crack your own authenticity is very hard. And as a mentor, it must be difficult to tell them like that is their authenticity.
Yes.
Should not be replicated, even if it has been viral, it has been successful.
Yes.
You have to crack yours, you have to find yours. That's another layer of
Yes. And it gets easier as you get older,
okay.
because you start then shedding things like this is not for me, this is not me. You start realizing and discovering that as you get older. When you're younger, it's very easy to say that, oh, I want to be like that person because that person is very inspiring. It's okay to be inspired by somebody else, but you cannot be in that person's shoes because the resources that that person has are very different to yours. The journeys that you've had led are very different. You can take elements of that person's successful journey and apply it wherever you think is applicable. But you cannot just take the blueprint of that person's life and say,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
this is my life now and I think it's a great success. No,
Yeah.
it would be a disaster. And you'll sooner or later you'll find out that it is a disaster.
I believe that. So with this mentoring, now you're moving on to your work at Good Day PR. You help build brave reputations.
Yes.
What, in your view, makes a brand or a leader truly brave today?
It is very imperative for brands and leaders to speak the truth regardless of the situation. And I think the bravest and the strongest brands are the brands who actually speak the truth when it's the hardest, whether it is standing for what is right or sticking to a particular cause, even when it costs you money. One of the biggest and most recent examples of this is actually one of my favorite makeup brands called Huda Beauty.
I knew it.
Huda
Yes.
has stood for something when the whole world stood against it, right? And she actually put her money where her mouth is and donated the profits from her business for the cause that mattered to her. We all know what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
We all know that there are larger powers, larger brands, but here's a brand who stood tall, chose, and she got tremendous backslash,
Yeah.
tremendous amount of trolling,
Oh, yes.
insane amount of opinions floating around. And to be a successful Arab businesswoman, entrepreneur, and do that. And the US is a huge consumer market for her,
Yeah.
mind you. All of those choices would have costed her huge chunks of money and business, right? The deal with Sephora was almost broken.
I heard that. Yeah.
So I want to work with companies like that are unafraid to choose and take a stand. Not be mute. We're talking about what's happening in Palestine and between Palestine and Israel. But there are so many things that are happening outside of that world as well where you need to take a stand. Whether it's dismantling of the DEI policies, whether it's LGBTQI rights.
Yeah.
If you do not take a stand, somebody else will assume that stand for you, and it'll be too late to make a difference then. So that's what I think. That's why I like to work with brave brands and individuals who are unafraid to speak the truth.
I think it's not easy sometimes to be, as I said, like there's a consequence of taking a stand.
Yes.
And while probably there's a leader who wants to take a stand, but then you also have a team next to you who's
Yes.
probably supporting the communications, right?
Yeah. You have boards who will not allow you
Yeah.
to take a stand.
Yeah.
You'll have investors who will be like, no,
Exactly.
stop it, don't do it. But that's where the real leadership and leadership of courage comes in, right? Will you be able to sleep at night with full peace if you've done something that doesn't sit right with you? That's the question most leaders must ask. If the board is telling you don't do this, and the investors are saying don't do this, but your heart tells you this is the way, this is the right way, this is what I stand for, this is what the company I built stands for, then nothing should stop you.
It's a difficult one.
It is a very difficult one. That's why you have to be brave.
Brave, yeah. You've spoken openly about grief, burnout, and starting over. What has reinvention taught you that conventional success never could?
Oh God, I could
Serious
write a
topic.
book. I could really write a book. I speak about grief because it is such an inherent part of getting old. You know, we get older, we start thinking about our aging parents,
Yeah.
and we start losing them. And nobody prepares you for that, right? We all spend so much time talking about that beautiful phase of parenting to a newborn, but nobody talks about parenting an older parent,
Yeah.
right? And that's the hardest because they are adults navigating a very different, complex world. And you are also aging at the same time as
Yeah.
perimenopausal women in our 40s. We all know the kind of turmoil and bodily changes we go through. And at the same time, we are expected to care for our elderly parents. And I lost my father in this phase of my life. And I thought my whole world had come crashing down when that happened. It took me a while to actually start talking about it and writing about it. And it's been one of the most therapeutic things that I could ever do to deal with it. And when I started writing about it, I realized that there are so many people like me who go through this every time. And it just gave them a sense of voice as well through my stories and through my journey. And I thought initially, as a young divorcee, I was 28, 29, I think, when I got divorced, and 30, and spent my 30s brooding and being heartbroken about it, right? Because, like I said, you have this life for yourself, you dream of this life, and suddenly it comes crashing down. It's no longer the life that you see yourself in. But to accept that reality takes a while, especially when it's the same time that everybody around you is living their lives and getting on with life. And not to mention the stigma of getting divorced in our country as well, right? I got divorced in 2013. Nobody was getting divorced. Nobody was marrying outside of, community at that time. And divorce was like unthinkable, right? So it happened. And I was very fortunate that I focused all of my energies on my career. And it was the hardest thing to do, but also the most important thing to do, because if I wasn't financially independent and able to look after myself, I don't think I would have been able to survive those years. Right? So it just so happened that my marriage fell apart. Years later, then I lost my dad. All of this made me start over again and again and again and again. Right? I'm no longer afraid of starting over. It has been one of the most rewarding things. Not that now, tomorrow, if you'll tell me, oh, start a new business again, like, no, sorry. I still need to finish what I've started. But I know that if tomorrow something unplanned or untoward happens, I'm prepared. I'm prepared because my biggest fear was losing my parents. The biggest fear of my life. And it happened.
I think they say like the low moments of your life teaches you more than what a success could
Yes.
teach you.
Yes. All my failures, all my heartaches have taught me and made me the person that I am today. I wouldn't be this strong, resilient person today sitting in front of you had I not had my heart broken several times.
And this goes to show how one can come up when there has been a failure in life. Or not that
Yes.
I'm saying that it's nice to think about losing a family member.
But it happens, Sabia.
Yeah, it
It
is
happens
this
to
life.
everyone.
This is
All
life.
of us.
Yeah.
This is what life is. But we don't think about it. And we are not equipped to handle it when it happens to us.
Equipped is the right word indeed. Yeah, that's true.
So when I talk about it, I'm also giving people to the permission to think that this could happen to us. What can we do to cope better? You can't avoid it. It'll happen. Whether it happens now or in 10 years, but it'll happen. But what can I do right now to help me cope better when it eventually happens?
And I think this is something we are not among those countries where the mindset is evolved to accept such things,
Yes.
whether having to marry somebody outside
Yeah.
your home country or divorcing it quicker or moving on or starting all over as you did. Those things, yeah, we don't really have a blueprint. We don't really talk a lot about it. We're not equipped. We're not evolved as a society as well. So it's really hard. And I think kudos to you. You should be really proud of yourself. I'm sure
I
your
am.
father, who is watching from somewhere, must be very proud of
I am.
seeing this.
I'm sure he is. I feel him. It took me a year to realize that he's still around. He's within me. He's around. He's blessing me. He's watching over me. He's making sure that I don't fumble. But I still miss him physically. Like the other day, I was at the IIM Lucknow giving a lecture, and the only person I wanted to pick up the phone and talk to was my dad, and he wasn't there. My mom sends me messages, and my brother sends me messages, and they're all like so happy. We're so proud of you, so proud of you. And the only person on the planet I want is my dad to tell me he's proud of me.
I saw the post.
Yeah.
Was it a lecture that you had to?
Yes, it was a guest lecture on executive visibility and communication,
Okay.
and a bit of personal branding as well. Why is it important to have personal brands as future leaders? Because all of those MBA grads from IIM are either going to be CEOs or project leaders or entrepreneurs one day. So it was a guest lecture in communication and executive presence.
How many kids? I mean, kids. Ooh.
Young people,
Young
we call them
people,
young
yeah,
people.
yeah.
180 students.
Wow.
I did two sessions,
Yeah.
one in the morning at 9 and the other at 11. The first batch was 60 students, the second batch was 120 students.
That's a massive number of people.
Yes. Huge responsibility. I hope I did justice, but from the looks of their faces and the fact that they all added me on LinkedIn later and wanted photos and conversations to continue, I felt like I did a good job. I think I might go back.
I'm sure you have a lot to explore and share, because I think you're also somebody who's balancing the emotional intelligence quite well.
Thank you.
So when you are balancing emotional intelligence with executive level strategy,
Yeah.
how do you lead with both soul and structure, especially during moments of change or crisis? Because I've heard that during the crisis, what the PR, the communications is needed is something, it makes or breaks the whole situation. So how do you, if you can talk about that, how can I repeat my question maybe? How do you lead with both soul and structure, especially during moments of change or crisis?
Well, that's a very important question and a very easy thing to do for comms people. Because when it comes to crisis, we have usually been through so much as senior comms people. We know how to navigate a very complex situation with heart, always. There is always a template to a crisis response. There's always a structure to a crisis response. What sometimes we tend to forget is the humanity in all of it.
Okay.
the humanity in a crisis situation. I'll give you an example. Say, in a factory, there has been an accident,
Okay.
right? People are injured, right? So I'm not going to sit there and start thinking about how am I going to spin this story? I first need to start owning that there has been an accident and I am responsible as the factory owner or the factory manager for this accident, right?
Okay.
And my first response would be to ensure that whoever is injured has the right medical treatment and is able to be on their feet and support their family in making sure that they are okay and also back into the workforce as soon as possible. Right? Then my second response then would be then to talk about this. Sorry, this happened. This shouldn't have happened, but we take full responsibility. This is what we're doing for the families, and this is what our plan is. And we'll make sure that they get back into the workforce as soon as possible. Or for whatever reason, if they can't, then we'll employ their children to make sure that
Okay.
there is continuity and also a responsible line of stream of income as well
Okay.
for the family, right? So there are so many ways in which you could have handled this, right? But owning that we made a mistake and these things happen, and these are real life examples of people getting injured at factories, running systems that are not meant for them sometimes even. The last step would be like, what am I going to do to make sure this never happens again? Right? So you have to think as a human first response. If I were in that person's shoes, how would I want to be treated? What would I want my bosses to do, my managers to do to navigate that situation as well? Right? So it is so important to not ever forget that humanity in a situation like this.
Sometimes it's hard, I think, like being part of the communications. Um, Maybe it is that we picture it's all about the notifications given, like apologies, this happened, as you said, like addressing it that way. But behind that, the soul, as you said, the human side,
Yeah.
that is also to be reflected in the messages and the way it is treated and the way forward and corrected. It's interesting to know from you right now, because for me it's always like, okay, it must be not that hard for them just to write a letter about apology and then that's it, done, right? For some big brands, if I'm just taking the example that you just said,
No, one is to write the apology and the other is to see through
yeah,
that this never happens again and also deal with the consequences of this action. Like, I have to make sure that the people who work for me are safe and are not put in this situation ever again. Right? And accidents are accidents, they are unfortunate things. Sometimes they are in your control, sometimes they aren't. But you still need to own your responsibility and your part in that action as a leader.
that must be like a nightmare to handle a crisis like that for a comms team.
But it's also funny enough, it's almost most PR people, I think, suffer from some sort of a Stockholm syndrome because we thrive the most during such crisis situations.
Okay.
We do. We are the most alert and the most productive during such traumatic events. I have been as well, and I know so many of my peers have been on their feet in crisis situations, thriving. That's the job.
Maybe that is a moment of learning, right? It's a low moment and you learn. And maybe that's where you're.
And moment of shining as well
That's your
for
moment of
us.
shining, the low moment. Oh my
Yes.
God, it's weird to say that,
Yes.
right?
I hate to admit it, but it is.
Yeah,
We
yeah, it sounds
thrive
like.
under pressure.
Well, from your career, now we're moving on to the in between. You've built a career telling stories for the world's biggest brands, sports, diplomacy, and media. What's it like when the storyteller has to narrate her own journey, which is you?
Oh, that's been hard.
Yeah?
It has not been the easiest thing to do from the beginning. But as I do more of it, it's getting easier. I have to admit. I'll tell you why it's hard. It's because as PR people, we are not naturally used to having the spotlight on us. We put the spotlight on other people, our
Yeah.
CEOs, our clients, brands, right? We are not very comfortable when the spotlight is on us. So it has taken me years and months of internal work to be okay to start talking about the stuff that matters to me and do it in a way that is true to me. Right? Like, you know, there are dialogues sometimes. It's like, what would people think? Is it too much information? I always think, is it adding value to other people? Is it helping other people? Or is it just me showing off? Right? There's always this internal doubt about whether this is me just showing off or this is just me genuinely trying to help somebody when I'm sharing a piece of my story with them. Right? So there's always this internal dialogue that I have to fight. I also suffer from a huge imposter syndrome. We all do.
Yeah.
I've worked very hard to get over it and I'm still learning. I'm not successful. There are times when I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I belong here. And it's okay to feel this sometimes and to just live in it for a little bit and then just brush it off when you can. So yeah, it's been hard, but I am learning to own it and to celebrate it with every passing day.
For me, it was always that it must be very easy for you to narrate your own journey because you've been doing that for the others. So when
It should
comes
have
to
been
you,
easy.
It should have been, yeah.
It's easier to write, but when you post it, the difference between writing it for yourself
Yeah.
as a journal versus writing it for an audience,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get it.
there's a difference.
Yeah.
So you always have to be like posting, post it, let it be, let it breathe, let people read, let people think what they need to think about it. It's not in my control. What is in my control is I put out the words that are the most truest words that will ever come out of my mouth. That is all that's in my control. How people react to it, what they think of it, is not in my control. So I just do it now. But yeah, it hasn't been easy in the beginning.
I can imagine. And is there a moment in your journey when you're narrating your journey that your 20-year-old self leaving India would never have imagined which is possible? Did you ever think that was possible? 20-year-old leaving, and now you're talking about your journey. Yeah.
I actually never thought that I would build something of my own. I always thought I would be working for somebody else.
Okay, yeah. Maybe it is a mindset that I don't know that people say that is maybe more stable, like
Yeah.
success, like stable career,
Yeah.
stable income that takes care of your bills and every payment and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if our parents would have been coming from a business background, and then maybe it's different mindset
Probably.
that we are grown with. Yeah.
Probably. I also didn't think that I would be single and choosing to be single either when I was 20. But I enjoy it. I am so comfortable in my solitude. I also want to say this to a lot of young people, is that we need to learn and teach our daughters to live by themselves
Yeah.
without the pressure of marriage, husband, children, etc., etc., etc. It is such a rewarding travel alone, see the world, discover things. I never thought in my 20s that I would be living this lovely single life with no stress, child free in my 40s. And I'm very, very proud of that. The choice of not having a child and a husband and building a business is scary. Not having that supplement income is scary, but it's so rewarding. I am my own boss.
Yeah, and this is equity and this is inclusion. Starting with yourself.
Absolutely.
And then once you feel it, and then you can pass it on to the others. Think so? I've seen on LinkedIn that you have always spoken about writing a book about yourself.
Yes.
So you're a writer, mentor, strategist, and a speaker.
Yeah.
When you have to write
Yeah.
one line about your book,
Oh
the
no.
opening of your future book, what would it say? That's my last question.
Oh my God, I have to really think this through. I think I want to be remembered in the opening line of my memoir would be that she tried and she succeeded and she had a blast while doing it.
That's not bad.
Yeah. She
You
tried, she succeeded, and she had a blast while doing it.
Had a blast while doing it. I like that line.
Yeah. I need to have fun while I'm doing all of these things. I think we don't think of joy and adventure so many times in our lives. We think of inspiring other people and doing these important, life changing, life affirming things, but we forget to have joy.
Yeah.
Like, and she danced.
And she danced. Okay. That's an
And she
addition.
danced. Because that's the biggest sense of joy and purpose for me. And not being able to dance, if my knees give away, is the scariest thing that keeps me up at night sometimes.
That's life.
I know, but I don't want to be not able to dance. Ever.
We'll have some inspiration around to look up. Who is that? I forgot the lady. What's her name? The one who couldn't dance and she was a dancer and she couldn't dance.
Mayuri.
No, there's somebody else.
Mayuri, Nache Mayuri. Yeah, she had her feet, legs amputated and she...
then she continues to dance.
Yeah. Mayuri.
That's an inspiration for many women.
Mayuri
so.
Chandran, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was an inspiration growing up.
Well, I really had a lovely time interacting and knowing your journey, your story. And I'm sure the audience watching in also must have got a lot of wisdom and learnings from it. And I hope that your book really, really happens, that, the line that you said, maybe that is something, a line that you remember, and then you can start writing if you haven't started
I'll give you credit.
yet. Okay, I'll take that.
I'll give you credit. No, but the memoir will come eventually at 50. That's the plan.
Okay.
I have a couple of years to get there. But that's a gift to myself. My 50th birthday gift is the memoir that I will write.
Isn't that a great thing to really gift yourself?
Yes. Gift myself, and with that, hopefully every other girl, 20-year-old girl who dreams of leaving home and building a life from scratch.
I was thinking
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
In every decade of my life, I've done that. So, yeah, hopefully it'll inspire people.
I'm sure it will be. And I will be the one to read it. Maybe when you launch it, maybe don't forget to.
Yes, I'll give you a signed copy.
Yes, please. Yes.
You'll get it.
Thank you so much, Ketaki, for your time. It was really lovely to have you and I'm going to share your details, the LinkedIn profile, because I think there is a lot of things that one can learn which we have not covered in the podcast because the time. Please follow Ketaki on LinkedIn, and also, do you have a website?
No, I don't have a website, but my LinkedIn is my go-to for everything.
Or do you
And
have
the
a good day?
newsletter, the newsletter is Have a Good Day in PR,
Yes.
which is on LinkedIn.
The main platform is LinkedIn for you.
Yes, yes. I don't believe in websites anymore.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ketaki.
Thank you,
pleasure.
Savia. I loved and enjoyed having a conversation with you. I felt like we were old friends just chit-chatting and not, talking about deep, even though we were talking about really deep and
It was.
serious topics, I felt that I am not meeting you for the first time.
Yeah.
And that...
Same here. Really, I thought like I knew you for a long, long time. And
Yeah.
Honestly, it has been long that we've been talking about doing this podcast. So
Yeah.
probably because of that I visualize myself talking to you so long and the questions, and every time I see the post, I knew that, I want to talk about that,
Yes.
So thank you for this.
It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this every single moment of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
If today's conversation made you feel understood, informed, or simply connected to the global journey, we'd love for you to stay with us. Please subscribe and follow the channel. Your support truly helps us bring global voices to this space. So thank you.